Hi everyone, it's Mo from Mo Goes, and I'm back again with another video. My travel day to New Orleans, Louisiana started early in the morning with a short layover in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then a connecting flight. It wasn't too long before we were up in the air. This short trip was business/leisure, so I made sure to thoughtfully plan out the perfect itinerary for a few days in the Big Easy. Follow along on another Mo Goes adventure for fun things to do in New Orleans. So it's day one here in New Orleans, and we decided to come out and grab a bite to eat. We haven't eaten anything literally since dinner the day before. No breakfast or anything, so we're headed to a restaurant called Mother's. And it's right here on, where are we? On Poydras. It looks like there's a pretty good crowd here too. Number one, eat at Mother's Restaurant. Mother's Restaurant is one of those mom and pop joints that all the locals go to, and eventually, all the tourists start flocking to it as well. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I would describe the cuisine as traditional Louisiana down-home cooking. Back in the late 1930s, this was a gathering place for the Marines, but now everybody from every walk of life comes to enjoy really good food. I'll be honest, we were almost overwhelmed with how many different menu options we had. For example, they have a gazillion types of po' boys. From chicken breast, Gulf shrimp, oyster, combo shrimp and oyster, catfish, soft shell crab, sausage, turkey, ham, and then something called debris. They had yummy desserts, red beans and rice, gumbo, and jambalaya. So first of all, let me say that reading is fundamental. We just got back from having lunch at Mother's Kitchen, and remember I said that we hadn't eaten since dinner the day before. We had a really early flight, we had no breakfast, and we've been traveling all morning, and when we finally got to the hotel and got settled in, we decided to go out and find something to eat, something substantial, because we were starving. So we found Mother's Kitchen, which was 2 blocks away. There was a little wait, as you saw in the video, but I ordered what I thought was a platter or a dinner or a lunch plate of maize filet gumbo. It turned out to be a little small, like, cup of gumbo, literally a cup. It was a small bowl, a single serving, and I'm thinking I'm getting a big platter with rice on the side, and I'm ready to tear in. And when the server brought our plates, we were like, what? So when you don't take your time and read thoroughly, you make the mistake that I made. So I read this menu, and all I saw was maize filet gumbo. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, I want that. And that's what I ordered, not realizing that this particular menu is showing you all the options that you can get for a lunch that costs $21. I just ordered a side. So anyway, long story short, and the other thing is Jay ordered the fried chicken, which came with 2 sides. Well, those 2 sides were the exact same portion as my filet gumbo. So it really wasn't that much, but we ended up sharing everything. But we definitely were not full. So we didn't know. Sometimes we've gone to restaurants for the first time, and they'll ask you, is this your first time here? That's not this kind of restaurant, but it would have been nice because we would have known better how to ask, what to ask for. So I guess what we ordered was not a plate. And in looking at the menu a lot closer, there is a section on the menu that says plates, and you have to choose 2 sides. Like red beans and rice, Jerry's jambalaya, crawfish etouffee, shrimp creole. There are a lot of different options here. Quarter fried chicken, half fried chicken, and there's a combination platter that has all kinds of goodies on here. So we're taking the L on this one, but we know better for next time. They also serve breakfast, so 9 times out of 10 before we leave, we will likely go back there 1 or 2 more times. Definitely another time to try out breakfast, and maybe another time to do lunch again, now that we kind of know the ropes a little bit better. So keep that in mind for if you ever come to New Orleans and decide to go to Mother's. Just know that you have to make sure you're looking at the right menu, and you understand that if you want a plate, it has to specify, a plate dinner with whatever sides you want. So it's not just, I will order red beans and rice and I'm going to have a whole platter. No, it's not like that. So after lunch, we were still hungry. So we didn't want to go back in line and wait again because, like I said, the wait was a little bit long because we ordered something that was made to order. So we were like, let's just go across the street the other way, and we got Shake Shack. It's going to fill me up. This is going to fill that little void that we didn't get filled when we went to Mother's. So next time we go to Mother's, though, we're going to order the right way. But at least we got a little something to tide us over until dinner. So it's all good. I wish I had been quick enough to catch it. It's so busy at Mother's. While we were in line waiting to get up to the counter to place our order, we noticed a lot of the servers going back and forth from behind the grill kitchen area, bringing out plates, taking plates back. And there was one particular server that had two plates of the biggest pancakes I think I've ever seen in my life. They were the exact same size as the plate. I've never seen a pancake that big before. And the crazy thing is, those pancakes were about a ½ inch thick, and there were 3 of them on one plate. Who's eating that? Oh my gosh. There's no way I could eat that entire plate. I could probably take down half of one of those pancakes, but 3, honestly, that's a meal for 4 people. I mean, that's just outrageous, but I'm sure it's good. And like I said, we will be checking out Mother's for breakfast sometime during our stay. So I don't know, maybe I'll order the pancakes. We'll see. If we do order them, we're definitely going to split that if it actually comes with 3, or maybe we can order however many we want. I'm not sure, but we'll see. But wait till you guys see these pancakes. It's crazy. Our hotel was conveniently located right on Canal Street, and it's only about 2 blocks away from Mother's restaurant, so it was a really easy walk. We went back to Mother's for breakfast a couple of days after the first time we ate there for lunch, and let me tell you, the breakfast is a must-do. This food is so good. They give you great portions. I can't say enough good about everything that we ate. Now, I will say that the pancake is not as big as the ones that I saw the first day we went, but it was still a good size. Fun things to do in New Orleans. Number 2, take a food tour. I've taken quite a few food tours over the years, domestically and internationally, and every one that I've done so far has been amazing. This one is no different. It's called New Orleans Food Walking Tour of the French Quarter. I found it on viator.com through a Google search. This tour was perfect for me for a few reasons. 1, it gave me the option of choosing a smaller group size, and I love that. 2, it coursed through an area that I wanted to explore anyway, which was the French Quarter. And 3, it got great reviews. It was an easy 12-minute walk from my hotel to the little shop in the French Quarter, where my group met up with our awesome tour guide, Jack. He passed out a sample of praline cookies, and then we were off.
This is the heart of New Orleans that we're going to. St. Louis Cathedral right behind me. And this was named for Andrew Jackson, the square we're going to, for his role in the War of 1812, the Battle of New Orleans. And that's what secured us from the British. So that's why he's honored there. Now, there was a group of pirates that helped him in that battle, led by the Lafitte brothers. And to honor their participation, they named this Pirates Alley, one of the most beautiful alleyways we have here. Now, the alley on the other side of this cathedral is named for a priest, Père Antoine Alley. So I'm always proud that we honor priests and pirates equally here in New Orleans, you know. And also, we always have a bar right next to the church, so you have some place to go after confession, you know. Come along.
Most food tours are not just about the food. You do get a little bit of history mixed in, so that's another reason why I enjoy these type of tours, because I'm getting more bang for my buck. Jack shared a few facts about Jackson Square as we made our way across the park to our first tasting. Enslaved African women brought many recipes with them to this region during colonization, including this, challah balls. According to our tour guide, challah is made in many different ingredient combinations, so the taste and texture can vary. They were tasty but a little sweet. We passed the famous Café du Monde and stopped at the nearby mural depicting the African woman who influenced the tradition of beignets and café au lait to this region. Next was a few short steps to the French market for our tasting number 2. Next on the menu, boudin sausage. So it's called boudin. Boudin. So now we're gonna try what's called boudin. And this one is made with pork and rice. It's basically like a stuffed sausage. Let me let you guys take a look. This sausage is made up of rice, pork, and lots of seasonings. It was really flavorful, and I could definitely have this again. Third item on the menu is a muffalata sandwich. It's based in Italy and traditionally has spicy olives, ham, and salami as the main meat. This one I enjoyed, very tasty. All right, let's dig into this muffalata. It looks really good. This sandwich is traditionally served cold, but it can be heated if you want it. I enjoyed it. It was really tasty, but I don't think I had enough time to finish it all. Had we been able to stay just a little bit longer, I probably would have finished this sandwich.
Blackbird, bye-bye.
We enjoyed the cool sounds of a live jazz band as we entered the marketplace for our 5th tasting of shrimp po' boys. Po' boy sandwiches are really popular in New Orleans. I've had them before in New Orleans and in other places, other restaurants. This time, I was not impressed. Although the shrimp was very tasty, well seasoned, and well cooked, the sandwich was just bread, lettuce, and shrimp. We continued through the quarter for a little more history and architecture.
You know, I mentioned earlier that the original architecture in the French Quarter was a French colonial style. This original architecture was a French colonial style of building made from cypress, which was the local building material. And these buildings were set back off the street a little bit more. And the living quarters were always elevated up high to allow for floodwaters to go below. They usually always had a nice long porch along the front for socializing. And but there's only one of them left. And it's down here around the corner. It's called Madame John's Legacy. And was never open to the public. It's been in a lot of movies, got a creepy vibe to it, you know, but it's being renovated now, so that hopefully on your next trip you can take a tour of it. Why it's the last one though is because it was made from cypress and there was fire. There were actually 2 fires. The first one was in 1788. On the other side of town, a wealthy gentleman had a private chapel in his home, and it was Good Friday, so he was burning a lot of candles. A breeze caught a curtain and sent it into a flame that started a fire that took out 80% of the French Quarter. Out of 1,000 buildings, 850 were gone, including the church and everything surrounding the square. Well, it was devastating, needless to say. They started to rebuild, and then 6 years later, a second fire started by some kids playing in a barn. They knocked over a lantern, and that took out 60% of the buildings. But that one woke them up, and that's when they realized they needed to make some changes. Starting with the fire department, good idea, right? Mm-hmm. A good fire department at any rate. And then also they changed the building code, and they outlawed the wooden structures. And that's when everything had to be brick and stone and steel, like you see here, slate roofs, fire-resistant material. This is also, you see, when they started to build out to the sidewalk to create a firewall. And when they did that, it opened up room for what the French call a courtyard, Spanish call a patio. And I can tell you, all of these really drab-looking places all have beautiful courtyards and patios because it was such an important part of home life, because it was disgusting out here, filthy. There was no sewer system. So they were throwing the chamber pots out here in the morning. And then you have horses, a lot of horses, and you know what they leave behind. You know? And then flooding's an issue. You know, it doesn't flood deeply here because we are above sea level here along the river, as I mentioned. But it floods enough to make a mess. And that's where you have what they call porte cocheres. These are the little openings here where there's a couple of them around. Even these were not garages back then. What they were little entryways where you could mount your horse and your carriage without coming out to the street, you see. They also removed the kitchens from the main house at that point, put them on what we call the outbuildings on the far side of the courtyards, along with the housing for the enslaved. Today, those outbuildings, high-end condos, because they are preferred real estate off the street with a beautiful courtyard in front of them. And I can tell you they're quite spectacular, a lot of them. And finally, I'd like to talk about these structures here that are supported with columns. You know, we call these galleries as opposed to a balcony, like these little things here, you know. Galleries, they're another room of the house, you know, very popular before air conditioning, obviously. And they would actually sleep out there during the summertime, too. Now, I usually like to point out that this does reflect Spanish colonial architecture. And you could probably refer to this as the Spanish Quarter architecturally, but the French culture remained dominant even throughout the Spanish period, so that's why it does remain the French Quarter. So, anyway, that's how we got to it. And you can always tell where people are living, where all the plants are watered. You know, the rest of them are people that come here like maybe once a year, sometimes they're just storage, and sometimes they are Airbnb. And you'll find that a lot of the hotels buy up these buildings and they create little small units, annexes to their hotels. So anyway, we're going to continue this way.
I love walking through the French Quarter because I love to admire the gorgeous architecture, all the buildings that have the sprawling balconies or galleries, I should say. Jack wasn't kidding about the courtyards. Many of these courtyards that we pass by up and down the blocks are absolutely stunning. They've been redone and they're really impressive. Next stop is the New Orleans Creole Cookery for tasting number 6. On the menu was a bowl of traditional chicken and sausage gumbo. I think gumbo is definitely in my top 3 of favorite things to eat when I come to New Orleans, and this gumbo did not disappoint. My go-to is usually seafood gumbo, but this chicken and sausage gumbo was excellent. It had the perfect amount of heat, it was flavorful, not too runny, not too thick, it was perfect. We made a quick stop at the Mayor Girard House, or the Napoleon House, and this building was designated a historical landmark as it provided refuge for Napoleon while he was in exile. The last stop of the tour was the New Orleans School of Cooking, where Jack shared his closing words and passed out a sample of homemade traditional pralines candy. I'm really not a pralines girl. They're really tasty, but I'm just not into pralines. But these are really good. Number 3 fun thing to do in New Orleans, a self-guided tour through the French Quarter. Having already done a guided food tour through the French Quarter, I was already familiar with the area enough to go on a self-guided tour. Doing a self-guided tour gives you the flexibility to spend as much time or as little time at each location that you want to explore. You can take your time examining architectural details, capturing video footage, selfies, photos, bar hopping if that's your thing, and browsing the many quirky little shops along the way. Jackson Square is probably one of the most famous landmarks in New Orleans, and I couldn't wait to get back so that I could really explore the way I wanted to. This towering structure behind me is the famous St. Louis Cathedral, which happens to be the oldest cathedral in the United States. We'll take a look inside in just a bit. Between the cathedral and the Cabildo Museum is a famous alleyway called Pirates Alley. After that, we walked 2 blocks over to the French Market, where I was able to take my time browsing all the different food, beverage, and merch vendors. We came across some truly unique finds. Let's head back to Jackson Square so we can take a look inside St. Louis Cathedral. The second you step inside, you feel like you've just stepped out of a time machine. You can tell that this cathedral is extremely old. You can pretty much tell what's original to the building, especially the tile on the floors, a lot of the ironwork, and some of the stained glass windows. One of my favorite features in the sanctuary is the ceiling and the tile floors. You're not allowed on the altar, but try to get as close as you can coming from the center aisle because the details are amazing. Honestly, there's no such thing as a bad angle in this church because no matter where you're standing, you're going to get beautiful images. Next, we headed back across Jackson Square to Decatur Street to Café du Monde. I think everybody knows that this is the most famous place for coffee and beignets, so if you haven't been to Café du Monde, this is definitely a must-do. Better known as the world's most famous coffee shop, Café du Monde has been serving up beignets and café au lait since 1862. You want to shake off the sugar so that it's not as messy. Important to remember, Café du Monde is cash only. They have a very limited menu of coffee, milk, hot chocolate, and orange juice. Well, that rounds out my top 4 list of fun things to do while in New Orleans. And of course, there are so many other things that you can do, but these are the things that I did, and this is what I wanted to focus on in this video. I have plans to visit New Orleans in the future, so of course I will be bringing you more fun things to do and exciting places to see while visiting New Orleans. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any recommendations for my next visit, you can leave them in the comments. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. And until the next Mogo's adventure, see ya.